Thank you for listening to this episode, and follow the podcast on social media by finding at prestigious pod. And if you'd like to be coached on how to live a more prestigious life, you can reach out to me, Chris Bean, at Chris Bean Official, or by emailing the podcast directly at prestigiousinitiative@gmail.com. Lastly, sign up for our newsletter either through social media or on our website. This is the Prestigious Initiative. Welcome. I'm Chris Bean. Today, I'm excited to explore the profound journey of self-discovery and fulfillment with a very special guest, Warren Miles Pickup. Warren is the co-founder of Pixel Publishing, and his team's latest book series, Pathways to Fulfillment and Unleashing Potential, offers incredible insight into achieving the true satisfaction of life. If you ever felt like there's more to life, or you've been searching for that next step in your personal or professional journey, this is the episode for you. Warren, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. That was an incredible introduction. I really appreciate it.
So, Warren, let's let our listeners know a little bit about you and kind of what brought us here today.
Sure. Essentially, business owner of a number of agencies, father of three, passionate, value first marketer. That's pretty much my story. Spent 17 years working in finance. Did about $2 billion worth of product sales, and have taken a lot of the skills that I learned working in a very saturated marketplace to assist coaches, consultants, small businesses, that sort of thing, develop out their digital brands and help them build the authority and the authenticity that they need in order to gather clients into their own organizations.
Wow, wow, well. Well, okay. So your background, you have a little bit of business to business sales, business to consumer sales, as well as
Yeah.
co-funding, like you said, several businesses. What
Yeah.
inspired you to launch Pixel Publishing and dive into the world of self-discovery books?
Yeah, that's a good question. So started off, my business partner and I started off with a design agency, and we're working with a lot of small businesses, which wound up introducing us to a number of coaches and consultants, that sort of thing. And so we were working with them, and one of the biggest challenges a lot of them were facing was how to build out their audience and to gain authority in their area of specialization, their particular niche. And you know, creating social media content, all those sorts of things, they're great for dripping on individuals, but it doesn't necessarily dramatically increase the amount of authority that you have on your particular topic. And so we started to work with coaches on a lot of copywriting, whether it was working on articles or insights, white papers, case studies, those sorts of things, and discovered that there was a real need for an organization to provide them with the skills and the structure to publish their own books. And a lot of coaches and consultants aren't necessarily ready to dive right into writing their own book entirely by themselves. So we created a co-author series called the Collaborative Coach Series, where we'll get anywhere from five coaches up to our largest was 18 coaches together to each write a chapter around a central thesis or a central topic, and then work together to both edit and review the book, but also to promote the book, so that they essentially created a sense of community surrounding themselves and were able to get that message out to a much larger audience by sharing their audience amongst each other. In addition to that, we provided as many opportunities as we could for them in getting them onto podcasts and finding other types of interviews or guest blogging opportunities, creating lead magnets for them. So we helped them to understand how they could build out a full sequence of marketing materials in order to promote their message to help them grow their audience. As somebody who has benefited significantly from coaches and consultants working with myself and my business, both on a personal and professional level, I really wanted to help them to get that message out there, because I know how much of a profound impact it can have on people when you have somebody else who's helping you to see the issues and the areas for improvement in your own personal and business life. And so it was inspired through some altruism, a little bit of opportunity recognition and a real desire to bring more value to the marketplace from people that have something unique to say that can benefit their audience.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I got a handful of things to go from there. Firstly, what a wonderful idea to help people help people. Right. And,
Hmm.
and the avenue of approach that you have there is really wonderful because you have those coaches who can, I'm sure, say enough to write a book and can do that if they really spent the time to do it. However, it would be much better for their use of their time to have an opportunity to write a chapter, to be a part
Yeah.
of a book, and then to get that ball rolling. Not to mention, seemingly in this day and age, in order to get a book published by a proper publishing house, you have to essentially win a popularity contest. And
Yeah.
most people we're not capable of winning a popularity contest because, like, one of the things that almost every publishing house wants is how many followers do you have, how many subscribers do you have, how many, they want to know all of this stuff because then what that means is they're going to be leveraging you to help sell
Yeah.
your book and not leveraging whatever other connections they have, which is kind of backwards, I think, to how it should be. Whatever. I don't, maybe I don't know enough that I think, whatever. Anyways, but I
I
think that,
agree with you.
yeah,
So
yeah, well,
I think you have hit the nail on the head with that.
yeah. Well, okay. And I only know that because, so my day job, evening job, I teach martial arts. I'm a professional martial arts
Mhm.
instructor. I've been training martial arts since I was 11. I got a work permit from school when I was 14. That's what I do. That is my job. I do this as an extra opportunity to share the my mission of helping other people. Right? Zig Ziglar said, "You can have anything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want." And I heard that in high school because I had gotten the Zig Ziglar CDs and I was listening to them from
Mhm.
work, from school to work and back. I would know no music or anything. That was my jam in the car. It was Zig Ziglar, and that was one of the things that I heard early on in high school. And I was like, that is it. If I can live my
Mhm.
life like that, then I'll know that I'm doing the right thing. And I use
Yeah.
that to set my gauge of how I'm doing and what I need to do moving forward. So through martial arts, I get an opportunity to share these type of concepts with people. But I also wrote a book about how to lead and manage a martial arts school. Tried to get it published through lots of things. That's where I found that, well, okay, if I want to get this published by a proper publishing house, I have to essentially
Yeah.
win a popularity contest, which I cannot do. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to freely share this. So I created a podcast, a separate podcast, where I shared all of that information for free to anybody who wants to listen to it. And then it's up to always. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that doing it the way that you're doing, giving an opportunity for those coaches, the specialists in their field, to write a book, but not necessarily write a whole book, write a part of a
Yeah.
book, write a chapter, be a part of that, and then the opportunity to be guests on shows, and then to, you know, have another avenue of approach to be seen as the shining figure in whatever niche they're in. I think that is a wonderful direction that you're going, and I think the standard person who's a coach or whatever other verb you want to use or noun or whatever other word you want to use for that, I think works really well um, for that. Like being a part of a book, hey, then you can pass that book out to people. You can turn people to the episode that you run. You have that on your website. You have those up on, clips of it on social media, and it's all you. But that's a wonderful way to go about that.
Yeah. And it's all content and information that is truly valuable because it's been edited, it's been reviewed, it's you've got peer reviews, we've got professional editors, all of that. So it's a well scripted and well intentioned message versus what normally drives a lot of the popularity contest, as you put it, which is just trash on short form content, right? it's
Yeah,
it's entertainment versus information.
yeah.
And so what we've tried to do is make sure that we are providing them with assets and with a structure that they can go out and share really valuable information so that everybody can feel good about what we're doing rather than just creating something that is um, entertaining for the purpose of being entertaining.
So where did that idea come from? It's a wonderful idea. I really like it. How did you formulate that idea into what it is now?
it kind of just came to me one night. Honestly, I was sitting around and wondering how we can help more coaches, how we can help them to problem solve the idea of developing more leads, developing a larger audience, helping them to get in front of more people. And traditional publishing, as you pointed out, is a very difficult way to get your message out there. With the certain resurgence or the development of self-publishing, we saw it as an opportunity to assist. And with Amazon KDP or with the Barnes and Noble direct publishing route, there's a lot more opportunities now for coaches or authors to be able to get their message out there and to be able to utilize a platform to add authority to their message, because books still have this um they have a natural what's the right word for it, just people take them as higher credibility. They're willing to put a lot more stock into something that has been written into a book because there's been a lot more effort put into it versus short form content or a blog article that is largely AI written or anything like that. Books, particularly when you're putting something onto these self-publishing platforms now, you have to indicate whether they are AI produced or not, and that will show up in the description of the book on the marketplace. So that you're getting something that was actually the concept and development of somebody who is human and is experienced and knowledgeable on the topic and sharing that information.
And I think the books lead to credibility, and and you said that, and you're right on with that. And I think the other part is too, if one coach tried to write the whole book themselves, the chance of it turning into more of a pamphlet than a
Mhm.
book is high. Meaning, it's hard to fill a book with 100,000 words of content
Yeah.
that makes sense and is cohesive and works all together. So you're going to write a book, and it'll be a book, but it'll be more like a pamphlet because it's not substantial. And then you hand that to somebody and say, "Here's my book," and they look at it, you're like, "Oh, okay." And it's not the same.
It's the ultimate business card.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, when you're at a conference or any type of an event and you can hand somebody your book or you can direct them to where they can get your book, it's an incredible way to build that authority. In addition, a lot of coaches do not have the time or the budget to commit to writing 45,000 words for a 200-page book. They have the time to write 3,500 to 4,000 words in order to get their idea out, but create putting that much of a commitment into an activity that they don't necessarily know is going to benefit them off the hop is very difficult for a lot of people. So this gives them an opportunity to test the waters of what publishing or self-publishing is going to look like for them and how it's going to benefit them. And the majority of them go on to either join another book with us or they start working on their own book. So it's been very rewarding in seeing the impact that it's had on the coaches that have worked with us.
Well, yeah, okay, so that's interesting too, because then they do a chapter or whatever it is, and they see the power, they see the benefit of it, and they're like, oh, you know what, maybe I can do more than this. And
Mhm.
they want to do another one, like you said, or they do a whole book, because then they see the value in that time spent. And before that, they're like, I can't commit to this much time, I don't know. But
Yeah.
you do it, and you're like, oh wow, look at all this benefit that I got from that one chapter. Imagine if I did the whole book, and then yeah, right, I
Yeah.
can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, similar to the way that that we give out ideas for any other topic, it's kind of leading them into taking action, and it's those baby steps. Once you've started doing it, I'm sure with martial arts, you see the same thing. People come out to try a class and they wind up really enjoying it, and then they're committed to it for the long term as they build it into their habits and routine.
Yeah. So, okay, so in Pathways to Fulfillment, your authors focus on self-discovery and navigating life's complexity. Can you
Mhm.
share some other key themes or insights from that book that our listeners may find particularly impactful?
There's chapters on goal setting. There's chapters on neuro linguistic programming. There is a lot of different. There's a huge amount of variation in terms of the types of topics and skill sets that can be developed from that book. Um, we've tried to do that, which with each of the books is getting a really well diversified group of authors so that they can provide a range of different methodologies for accomplishing the central concept. So in Pathways to Fulfillment, it really is focused on how can you take actionable steps to find fulfillment in your life and move away from just the ongoing, dreary dredge of daily activity. And so each author has tried to focus on how can we give 2 to 3 tips and tricks that somebody can put into action today in order to finding that fulfillment, or at least finding the pathway that they need in order to get towards having a fulfilled life.
Okay, so all right, as you're saying this, I'm trying to structure in my head this. Okay, that had to be a complex and challenging task for you and your team to take these chapters from how many authors are in that first book there?
13, I believe.
13. So you took chapters or a handful of chapters or sections from 13 different authors, put it into one book, but then okay, there's more than that. You have to probably have some sort of like order of operations. Okay, this one probably should be before this, and then that is before this, and then on top of that, you have to make it all sound relatively cohesive because it's all bound, quite literally bound together in a
Yeah.
book because it's a handful. It's not. I mean, the Bible is written by a handful of different authors as well. That's maybe a little bit
Mhm.
different story, but you have to make it sound like it is one-ish person. How do you? I guess how do you navigate that?
Yeah. I appreciate you comparing it to the Bible. I won't put it on quite that
Yeah,
level, but
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
I'll allow you to put it there. I appreciate it. It's We actually do it the opposite way around. So rather than going and finding the authors that we want, um, and then having them tell us what they want to write, we create the outline for the book in terms of the types of topics or subjects that we think would be beneficial to the reader and the audience. And then we go out and we interview authors in order to see if they are a fit for this particular book. So
Mm.
we will probably go through 100 plus authors in order to determine who are the right authors for this book. And we always have a list of books in the future that we're going to be doing. We have about 25 that are scheduled. And so when we meet somebody, we'll find what their area of expertise is, and then we'll figure out where we can plug them into that list of books. And so with Pathways to Fulfillment, we reached out to at least 100 authors, and we reviewed the outline and the table of contents with them to figure out where their niche specialty could fit in with this book. Now, there are some chapters that we changed or adapted to fit with authors that we thought would be exceptional for that topic, and so there was a bit of change after the fact, but mostly it was all pre-created in terms of the topics we wanted to cover, and then we found the appropriate authors or specialists for those each individual area.
And okay, and on one hand, somebody could listen and say, okay, well that really kind of cuts down the opportunity for them to really have creative ideas because you give them an outline. But on the other hand, and I believe this part is, and maybe you've heard about the spam. Is it spam haikus? I think it's spam haikus. They gave a college, MIT or something like that, uh, a challenge to make haikus, which is already challenging in itself, but you have to make haikus about spam, like the lunch meat spam.
Oh, okay.
And so by doing it such a niche down, such a small focus, it instead of closing in their creativity, it made their creativity really creative because they had to be creative within the confines of it being a haiku and with it being about spam. So that
Yeah.
was really, again, you think it would have the opposite effect, but however, because it was so slimmed down, you had to work within those small confines of whatever those things are. That makes the creativity sometimes more easy to come out. And it also then provides a better outline for the people who are trying to publish the book, you and your
Yeah.
team, to have a cohesive structure for the book because they have to work within some sort of parameters as well.
Yeah, I mean, creatives can certainly suffer from, the the death by a million choices,
Hmm.
or paralysis analysis kind of
Yes.
situation. And so giving some constraints around what the topic needs to cover, it definitely helps them to be able to refine what it is that they want to say and make it incredibly focused. At the same time, we give them enough breadth within the particular topic to be able to really put forward their thesis, their ideas, their action steps that they work with their clients on, that sort of thing. And we ask each one to bring multiple stories to the table of how they have put this into application in the past. So it's there's always a match between the author and the subject, in that they have practically applied this technique or this knowledge in the past, with real people, rather than it being something that is purely theoretical without any applicable backing.
Okay, so again, I like to think about processes and systems. Okay,
Hmm.
so just so you know where I'm coming from, uh, in within the book, do the authors have like a cover page before they go into their chapter to let the reader know who the author is, a little bit about them, and then they can read whatever it is that they wrote about?
Very close to it. So the author bios and links and everything are at the back end of the book. We
Okay.
didn't want to interrupt the flow of the book with that. But having said that, the beginning of each chapter tends to be a "Who am I? Why should you listen to me?" social proof, and then getting into the basis of the chapter. So understandably, before you're going to take action on something that you're reading, you want to understand that the person providing you with that information is credible, and has the backing to be able to give you that advice. And so we always made sure that each chapter is structured in that way. So when we're having the authors write, we give them a publishing guide that indicates how they should write the chapter, what the structure should be, that sort of thing. So there's consistency in the style of writing. And then our editing team, particularly our lead editor Andrew, will go through and work with each author to ensure that there is that consistency in central message throughout the book. So there's quite a bit of back and forth with each author, working through the chapter, making sure that it fits, making sure that none of the ideas are contradictory to other ideas in the book, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So again, I really like that idea. That's very powerful. Okay. So that's the one book. Now moving into Unleashing Potential. Those, I'm sure, build upon the first book, and bring us in. Tell me a little bit about Unleashing Potential. What does that book look like? How does it piggyback to the first one?
Yeah, so Unleashing Potential, a totally different group of authors. I think there was two or three that carried over from Pathways to Fulfillment to Unleashing Potential, just because the topics that we wanted to cover were different from what we wanted in Pathways to Fulfillment. And so it was really about giving a central purpose to how do you provide that practical advice. Again, it's always about the practical piece and the applicable piece, to readers, and I think there's 18 authors in this one, to break down how can they what are the daily activities that they need to do to unleash that potential and to become a better version of themselves, to really thrive in whatever environment they happen to be in. And so very similar process, creating the outline, going out and finding the authors that were the right fit for it, and then going through that whole process.
Okay. All right. So let's move into some self help type of realm. That's what we're talking about. We're kind of skirting around the with the books. Let's dive into what we can have some actionable steps for us to pull away from this episode. Okay,
Sure.
so what role do you think balance and intention play in living a fulfilling life? Especially, if let's segment it out to entrepreneurs who I'm sure juggle lots of different responsibilities at any given time.
Let's start with balance. So I was always taught that finding balance is the ultimate purpose in life. That's what you fight for every single day, because our lives are perpetually out of balance, being pulled in a million different directions by all the different stakeholders and demands that we have in our life. And when you find balance, you tend to find fulfillment and purpose, because you've got everything coming into um, to work together in order to fit with your goals, dreams, aspirations, that sort of thing. And so I think that one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people face is not really understanding what balance looks like for them. So taking a step back and looking at all of the different aspects of their life that they want to, whether it be accomplish or experience um, or provide to others, depending on what drives them, and aligning all of those and figuring out how each is going to fit within a part of their day, and ensuring that you are uh, accessing each one of those every single day, rather than it being overly biased to any one particular area of your life. So for myself, I was a massive workaholic for a very long time, and missed a lot of my kids growing up, because I was constantly traveling and working. And it has only been in the last, we call it the last 4 or 5 years, that finding that balance has been something that has taken place for me. And I will readily admit that that has provided significantly more fulfillment for me ever than being as successful as I was in my career. That having both at the same time, in terms of spending time working, but also spending time with my family, getting out into the outdoors, list having all of those different aspects that I list out as important parts of my life, all moving together, has been what has provided me with that balance and fulfillment.
Okay. All right. So two things. Two things.
Hmm.
Um, balance. Would you say that balance is the same for somebody who is 25 as it is for somebody who's 35 as it is for 45? Was that, or is balance the definition of balance, the meaning of balance, the same across those ages, or does the balance, that term balance, that idea of balance, have to change depending on the season of life that you're in?
Yeah, I would say that the definition of balance is the same, but what you deem as an achievement of balance changes.
Hmm.
That throughout life you're going to have different interests and different passions that are going to be a part of that balance. Before you have kids, spending time with family isn't necessarily going to be a part of your balance. But as you develop and as you bring other stakeholders into your life, that balance, the what defines it, or what makes it up, is going to change as you have different passions, different interests, different stakeholders in your life that require some of that time.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Bean here from the Prestigious Initiative. If you're looking to level up your life and unlock your full potential, I've got some exciting news for you. My recent guest, Joel Gandara, has an incredible program called 31 Days to Become a Better Man. Joel has packed years of life-changing insights into this easy-to-read book, guaranteed to help you rethink your shortcomings and redefine what it means to be a man in today's world. But that's not all. Joel also offers powerful one-on-one sessions and group classes to guide you on your journey. And he has a special offer for the Prestigious Initiative listeners. You can get $19.99 off the program when you use code PRESTIGIOUS at checkout. Don't wait. Take your first steps towards becoming the best version of yourself today. Visit 31dailychallenges.com and use the code PRESTIGIOUS for your discount. And now back to the show. Now, okay, and then the next thing is, you talked about early, like when your kids were little, you were a workaholic, you missed out on those
Mhm.
things, but now you have the time. Do you feel that that time that you spent building the business to be where it is provided you with the opportunity that you have now to spend with your family that you wouldn't otherwise have if you didn't spend that time in the business to grow it to where it is now?
That's a very good question, and it's something I debate regularly. I was having a conversation with a colleague the other day, and we were talking about timing for having kids, that sort of thing. And I had kids when I was relatively young, for Vancouver standards. When I was 27, my first was born, and I was working incredibly hard and focused on that. And the we were talking about, having kids later versus having kids earlier, and he said, "Oh, I wish I'd had kids earlier so that I had the energy." And I said, "Yeah, it's great. You do have the energy at that time, but you don't have the same stability in your life as you do when you have kids later." And so we were both looking at it from different perspectives. And I would say that yeah, it is one of those situations that's going to be unique to each individual, but I we benefited from me working really hard and being able to develop out the skill sets and everything that allow me to work from home now. But I would trade that for having a more balanced life at the time, because there's a lot of things that I will never get to go back and do, and so there's regret there, that I would rather to live without. Having said that, if I had done that, I'd likely look back and regret, did I put my all into my business and the opportunities that exist there? So I think no matter what, we're going to be wrong, because life doesn't come with a playbook as to how you should live it. Um, I think we all make the choices that we do at the time that we believe are in the best interest of everybody around us. But that finding that balance leads to a more long-term, rewarding situation than putting all of your effort into one thing. And this, as a parent, is something that I debate regularly, because I want my kids to be passionate about something, to be really successful in something. And I recognize that putting your all and being the person that is willing to commit all of your time and energy to a particular activity is going to generally lead you to being better at it than anybody else. But at the same time, living a much more balanced life is significantly more emotionally fulfilling than having all of your eggs in one proverbial basket.
Yeah. I, okay, so the way that so I have two kids. I have an 8-year-old and 6-year-old. I have another one on the way. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. My way of interacting with this is to have like core values. And
Hmm.
when I say values, everybody has their own interpretation of what values are, and a lot
Yeah.
of times values get misconstrued with morals. People say value. I have values, honesty, integrity. No, no, no. In those, to me, those are morals, and those are
Yeah.
two. You got to have morals. I fully believe that. But values are
Hmm.
something different, because value is, well, we know value has a monetary type of attachment to it. And the thing that we value or should value above all else is time. Because once that
Hmm.
time, like time is money. And once that
Yeah.
time is spent, we can't get it back. There's no return on that investment. So how we spend our
Yeah.
time is how we value that time spent. And
Hmm.
I think with that, we can take a look at our life. Let's say the different hats that we wear on a given day, week, month, and a year. And based on those things, come up with a list of values. I value spending time with my family. That's my highest value. I value
Hmm.
spending time doing podcasting, getting to learn and talk with interesting people, and really kind of create a college course that I wish I could have had when I was in college. That's kind of
Yeah.
my purpose for the podcast. And then I also value being a teacher. I teach martial arts. I value that. I like doing those things. But once I get those values, then I have to put that into a hierarchical structure. What is most important? Okay, and this is most important. That means that outweighs this. So if I have an opportunity to do this or that, the, if I go to my values, it's clear. I need to do this because that's what I most value. And I think we don't often have an experience of what that is like in order to live a life that is in line with what values are, because nobody really, in my eyes, nobody really knows what those values are, how to create that
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
Um, if we could do that, if everybody knew what that was like, we could live a life that was in line with our values, and it would be easy, relatively
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah. That was something a couple years ago. I was working with a coach, which was one of the reasons that inspired all of this. And that coach I was working with asked me, what is your core value? What's your core principle that you want to stand for? And mine was all about driving value for other people. I got the most out of ensuring that everybody who interacted with me, no matter what that interaction was, walked away with some type of value, whether it was advice or a smile or feeling better about themselves or some type of knowledge, something that is going to help their business, whatever it may be. If in every single interaction, I know that that other person walked away in a better position than when they interacted with me in the first place, my life's going to be great because I'm going to be happy all the time knowing that I provided that value, and those people are going to have a better life, which is going to pay it forward. And so that's the way I have lived it. It's just trying to ensure that every interaction I'm providing value to whoever I happen to be interacting with.
And okay, so I think that having a community that is connected with your values, with your intention, with your whatever it is you want to fulfill on in life is crucial. And whether that
Mhm.
be your family, or you have a group of people, you have a group of coaches, or like a mastermind or whatever it is, but I think that's an important part. And I guess my question is, what can we do to help to build that community for ourselves and build it with intention and purpose as we structure it?
Mhm. The first thing is determining your own values, principles, mission, that sort of thing. And we do it for corporations. Corporations have a value statement or a mission statement, that sort of thing. We should all be doing it for ourselves, so that we understand what's important to us, what we value, how we want to interact with others. I was taught in university, fraternity member, and one of the core things that we were taught was act, don't react. Right? Have your actions be driven by your values rather than allowing the actions of somebody else to determine how you are going to interact with them. And I don't think you can do that until you really know what your values and what your priorities and principles are. And so by writing those out, you can really help to set the foundation for how you're going to behave in every interaction. Um, then next, once you've actually written it out, is going through and determining the hierarchy of those, as you mentioned, right? Determining how do you prioritize each one of these, in how you're going to act in every situation, and then ensuring that on a daily basis you're reviewing them. I have a running list of daily, weekly, monthly goals that I'm looking to accomplish, and alongside those are all of my values, so that I know every single day I'm acting in a manner and taking on activities and tasks that fit with those values. Um, yeah, it's a really easy way to be constantly reminding yourself about the important things in your life.
All right. So you said a couple words there that I wanted to drive in on. Goal setting, right? Having
Hmm.
having goals, and I think linking your goals with your values means you first have to have values, then you have to have
Yeah.
goals. The hard part is, I think the hard part in society now is goals are placed on you. Meaning,
Mm.
I don't have my own goals. I have somebody else's goals that somebody like they it doesn't necessarily happen to me, but mom or dad says I want these things. Okay, then I guess these are the things I want, even though it's not really what I want, but I'll do it because that's what mom and dad said I need to do. Or
Hmm.
I look out my neighbors. Oh, that neighbor over there, he's got a really cool car. I guess I want that now. And you
Hmm.
get really out of whack really quickly, and social media just blows us
Yeah.
way out of proportion because you're seeing the best shiniest version of that person on social
Hmm.
media, and that's the person that really that person more often than not is striving to be, because they took that
That's
picture
right.
8 times and they filtered it 5 different ways, and they took it all. We have such a skewed metric of what goal setting looks like in
Yeah.
today's society. So can you speak on how you would advise or how you go about setting goals for yourself without that cloud of social pressure
Yeah.
founding the goals for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, just like we were talking about, it really goes back to ensuring that you've got your values and principles first, because then you'll be able to see in those goals whether they're working towards those values. So reverse engineering your goals is probably one of the most important things. So taking you've got your values and principles and your mission, that sort of thing, taking a longer term goal. So I would like to accomplish X, and then breaking it into what are all the different steps that need to go into it over a monthly basis, and then breaking each one of those into here's what I need to do on a weekly basis, and then breaking that down to here's what I need to do on a daily basis. And the aggregation of all of that activity is going to result in accomplishing that goal, which then fits with your mission or vision. Um, and then the daily review, I just have it open on my laptop every day so that it's there in a Word document, and I've broken it into different categories. So there's work goals, there's family goals, there's personal goals, and then there's health goals. And so each one of those is something that I can go through and make sure that I'm accomplishing on a daily basis. And then the next morning when I open it back up, I can look and see, did I do all of those today? In addition, using the Eisenhower box is really helpful for staying on track and taking action on the ones that are the most important that need to be done today versus what can I defer or what can I assign to somebody else.
Yeah, and I think that Eisenhower matrix is very very helpful, and I'm sure should be way more known than what it is.
Hmm.
I didn't even learn about that until maybe 2 years ago. That was brand new to
Yeah,
me 2 years ago. But
yeah.
what a immense helpful thing that has been. Um, and okay, so I like too that you start with the end in mind. So all right, a handful, maybe about a year ago, I was meeting with somebody. I think it was a guest for the podcast, and we were talking about goals, and I realized that the way that the standard goal process is, it was just SMART goals. That's what most people use.
Hmm.
I think
Yep.
is structurally flawed because specific, okay, that's fine. Measurable,
Yeah.
all right, that's fine. Attainable, that attainable
Hmm.
part, I take issue with, and
Hmm.
why I take issue with that is because if it's attainable, then you're not moving outside your comfort zone. You're not
Hmm.
challenging yourself. It's like you are, um, your contract says you're going to earn $100,000 this year, and your goal is to earn $100,000 this year. Okay, well, that's not a
Hmm.
goal. That's not a goal. That you're already going to have that. Make your goal
Hmm.
something else. And if your goal doesn't stretch your comfort zone, you're not doing anything. You're not growing yourself as a person. So through that, I dove into what goal setting is for myself and restructured it.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll share that with you because I think it's very helpful, and I think it's also different from what most people think of as goal setting. So it's an acronym like SMART goals, but it's called visionary goal setting, where we
Okay.
first visualize success. You start with a clear mental image of that success, and then you integrate your values. And those values, like I talked about, are not morals, but true values. And you align your goals with your core values. And of course, from there, you have to set the why. Why is this important and meaningful for you to achieve? And then the next stage is to instill affirmations, develop positive affirmations to reinforce that
Yeah.
belief and positivity. And then, of course, have those. I like to set my affirmations on a reminder on my phone so that my watch dings. Oh, hey, there's my affirmation. Boop. And I get it in the specific time that is important or meaningful to me. I think that is a key thing people miss out on. And then the O is for organized daily practices. I don't necessarily buy into habits are set it and forget it. I like to think of those habits as practices, and I am
Hmm.
intentionally practicing this act in order to get the desired result. So organize daily practices that are contributing directly towards the end result of your goal. And then N is navigate weekly check-ins. You want to, of course, ensure that you are checking in on your goals, making sure that you are on track and heading in the direction that you want. And if not, change it. And
Yeah.
another thing that people really miss out on is the next part is anticipate obstacles. You want to visualize
Yeah.
those potential challenges and then plan for how you're going to overcome those challenges because life happens. There's not a exact A to B to C to D. never has that happened. Your goal
Yeah.
is to get from A to B, but life happens, and there's all kinds of other letters that come up in between that throw you off track. And then
Mhm.
the next two are reveal, comfort zone, stretching. Like I talked about, you have to be growing. Identify uh, actions that are outside your comfort zone, and then prioritize those things. And the last one is yield to adaptability. You have to be adjustable, adaptable in your approach to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Otherwise, you're so stuck in on this one little minute thing that if you veer off in one way or another, oh man, I missed it.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. You're still, look how far you've came. It's not the end of the world. You're just on a little bit different trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great way to put it. And I think that's probably a much more uh, actionable
Mm.
goal setting paradigm than the SMART goals. I will disagree a little bit
Mm.
though in the attainable, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think pretty much any goal is attainable if you reverse engineer it. If
Mm.
you break something down into monthly, weekly, daily activities that you need to do, I think that every goal winds up looking like very small activities. And if you were to just accomplish those and perform them consistently, pretty much anything that we set out is attainable.
I
I agree that it needs to extend beyond your current capacity or
yes.
your current achievements. It has to be a reach. Again, going back to the foundation of what a lot of what I believe came from university and from my fraternity was all about setting ideals and striving for those ideals, constantly reaching beyond what you're capable of to improve on a daily basis. And so goals do need to be something where it's not, okay, I've done this in the past, I'll just do that again. It needs to be constant improvement and a goal for, or a an intention to be seeking beyond what you can currently achieve. So yes, but I think attainable, rather than it being, well, I know I can accomplish, has to be something that it's achievable, but it's still going to be a challenge.
Uh,
Um, and I think that's where people miss out on it. They, if you coincide attainable with something that you've already done, yeah, that's not really a goal.
yeah.
That's just
I think the
continuing the motions you've already set into place.
I think that the troubling part is a lot of times when people talk about SMART goals, they get to that attainable part and they make it seem like it has to be something that's already within your grasp
Yeah,
because you can't reach too far. No, you have to reach beyond your grasp right now. Otherwise, you can't get to that table that's over there.
yeah. If we reverse engineer it, I think we find that pretty much everything is attainable.
I fully believe that because other people have already achieved these things. And they're
Hmm.
people just like I'm people. We all have 24
That's
hours
right.
in the day. Maybe they had a little bit better start because they had money
Hmm.
or time or whatever it is, but you still can have the same hours in the day to accomplish the tasks that person can accomplish. And we look at people like Elon Musk, and he's doing, I don't
Hmm.
know I don't know if he sleeps at all, but holy cow, he's doing lots of things. Um,
Yeah,
we all have the same amount of hours as he has in the day. We
yeah,
all can be working like he's working, maybe not like he's working. Okay, fine, but we can strive to be like that. We all have the same components that make up our
hmm,
own human. So if
yeah.
another human can accomplish it, I'm a human. I think I also can accomplish those things.
Yeah, I think there's, as long as you're utilizing the resources around you, you're able to accomplish that. Some people have access to more resources than
Yes.
others, but I think that a lot of people are afraid to reach out to those resources and utilize them because of costs or those sorts of things. But as you get to a position where you're able to utilize them and you're confident with utilizing them, that's how you use that to as a multiplication factor for the efforts that you can put in. So somebody like Elon Musk certainly doesn't sleep, and I would argue that balance is something that he has never considered.
Yes.
Um, it's, you can see that with the relationships around him and everything
Yes.
constantly exploding, but the man is obviously incredibly intelligent, passionate, and is one of those people that believes in a single vision and moving towards it. I would argue that there's probably a lack of true fulfillment there, but but he's trying to do something for the planet, or at least that's the marketing message that's being put out. Um, so individuals, whether it's you or me, any human can break down the 24 hours into a series of activities, and by putting the time into those activities, you move closer and closer towards your goal. I wrote a book a couple years ago that was all about that accountability and about creating a routine and those habits, as you mentioned earlier, to put into practice so that every day you are moving towards your goals, and it includes a daily score sheet where you score your activities. So before I leave the office every day, I need to have 30 points in this activity scorecard, and so I can go down and I can do the highest value activities, but those are significantly harder, or I can do a whole bunch of the lowest value activities. Whatever I do, because I know I'm accomplishing a certain number of activities, a certain number of points, I know I'm going to be moving myself towards that goal. And the same is true of any goal that you set for yourself. If you give yourself a scorecard and you gamify it, you're going to be incentivized to do it, and you're going to be tracking it. Which, as you put in your acronym for visionary for goals, is one of the important steps that most people miss.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I really like the idea of gamifying a goal,
Hmm.
because then that means that everybody can kind of conceptualize what that means. I get points to this. That's the endorphins. And if you can get
Yeah,
the endorphins to go, the small wins. Yes, I got 30 points today. Yeah, I got 35 points today, or whatever it is.
yeah,
Then that builds in that dopamine rush into the
yeah.
goals. Then it becomes something that you get to do as opposed to something that you have to do. And that shift is so important as far as
It's
anything
huge.
in this realm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it creates that daily accountability piece, which is what we all struggle with.
Yeah.
Is staying on top of it and continuing to do something even when we don't see the results immediately, because we live in a world of immediate gratification and we are all suckers for this. And we have to figure out ways to incentivize us to do things over the long term rather than just thinking about, okay, what's going to reward me the most today. It needs to be filling that pipeline or doing whatever is required in order to achieve long-term success versus the short-term immediate gratification dopamine pieces that we chase.
Well, okay. So, and I think that really speaks on an important thing too, because we're looking for that quick win.
Hmm.
However, that like you read about these people who go viral overnight, and then 3 days later they're nothing again. But
Hmm.
it's that slow and steady progress. That's
Hmm.
a tortoise and hare all over again. It's that slow and
Yeah,
steady progress that wins the race. It really is,
yeah,
because you put up content, or you put out books, or articles, or whatever it is, and nobody reads them. But it just takes a handful of those to catch on, and you get a consistent following.
yeah,
That is so much better than getting a million downloads all on one show, and then nobody ever comes back ever again.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's certainly nice to go viral and to have all that attention all at once. It generally leads to a good boost of short-term success. But as you pointed out, the majority of those people, there's nothing afterwards because there isn't a background of content and authority in that particular area of expertise or whatever the topic happens to be. But if you've been constantly building it, and then when you do happen to go viral, when you hit that hot button topic that everybody wants to hear about, you've got this whole background of authority, authenticity, all of that people can grab onto, and you're going to have a much longer runway with that viral moment than individuals that are just a flash in the pan. I I hesitate to bring this up, but Haley Welch, the girl from Nashville who had the Hawk Tuah
Oh,
moment,
okay, yeah.
right? Okay, so for most people that are in that situation, there would be a spike and an immediate trough. But she has managed to maintain a lot of that popularity by not leaning into that hypersexualized moment, and she has allowed her true personality to come out and is now creating as much content. Yeah, I wouldn't call it wholesome content, but as much content outside of that particular hypersexualized moment as possible to bring value and to build up what she's doing. And so rather than just leaning into that and capitalizing on it as much as possible, she's trying to build out the rest of a personality and profile and knowledge and everything that she can to have it last a lot longer. And I think that her management team has done a very good job of that in preserving a lot of that natural interest that people have in her personality.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's super interesting. And then my mind starts to wander. Was that all intentional? Like, did she intentionally do that first video or whatever it was, skit, in order to build what she has now, or is it just completely accidental?
Accidental
Oh,
from what I've seen.
yeah,
And she immediately went and hired a team of people to work around her to manage it all. And I think they've done a really good job of leading her away from that and into something that's a little bit more, I wouldn't say wholesome, but valuable
sure.
than just these educational moments.
Yeah. Well, all right, Warren, I got to tell you, I'm truly inspired by the conversation we had today. I'm going to say thank you. Thank you so much for the insights that you gave. Um, eh, do you have any final thoughts or key takeaways you would like to leave the listeners with?
Um, No, not off the top of my head. I think we covered a lot of things in our conversation. Just that if there's anybody out there that needs help with publishing or writing or anything like that, you're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn and chat. I'm always open to having new conversations and assisting people. As I mentioned, I'm very much a value first type of person. So if there is anything that I can do to assist people, you're more than welcome to reach out and I'll do what I can to be as helpful as possible.
Wonderful. Thank you, Warren. And I encourage everyone listening to go and check out those powerful books. Take action on those ideas that we talked about today. And I want to say thank you for joining us. And remember to take action, stay focused, and make every day count.